It is a Monday morning mailbag on a Tuesday afternoon. This is the walk off. I'm Scott Belford, joined, I always would say, as always, by
It's a
Adam Mack.
habit. Yeah, can't
And
say that
people
anymore
people are
currently.
pushing back against that, yes. But joined by the best co-host in the biz, Adam Mack. Always a pleasure when you're on, my
See ya.
friend.
You too.
I know that now that softball is wrapping up here for you, you'll be
It's the real
around
reason
again.
I was away.
I'm gonna be
It's
able to get back to as always.
yeah, we'll see. There you go.
And we'll
I,
see, he says.
we'll see. We'll see. We'll see.
All right, lots to get to here. Every single week, we comb through all of your interaction, which we truly do appreciate. You can always reach out on Twitter at Walk Off Podcast, on Instagram, the Walk Off Podcast, our Patreon members. Well, that that loyalty, that $4 a month that you show the channel, that gets you automatically the Patreon bump. You get your comment or question, whatever it may be, on the mailbag. And then we do comb through as many of the YouTube comments as we can. I know that we don't get to most of them, doing our best here. But like I always say every Tuesday, keep trying. It's all you can do. Just keep sending messages. If you annoy me, I will eventually, to get you off my back, I will put you in mailbags. So consistency, my friends.
So,
Let's dive right in here. We're going to start with Twitter. Amanda DM'd me last night and very excitedly. She goes, guys, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. This team is, in all capital letters here, on the loose, exclamation mark. I don't care about heartbreak. I'm fully back on board. Amanda, you brave soul, you. Do you guys think there's any way that final wild card spot could still be had? And then she has in brackets here, keep in mind, I'm coming to you for your toxic positivity.
what
So,
what an important asterisk to put out there.
Amanda, listen, I love delusion as much as the next guy. I like to dip my toe in the delusion pool from time to time. I mean, I'm a stand up comic. To pursue such a ridiculous endeavor, you've got to be a little bit delusional. I will say this, trying to keep things positive, all right? This team to hit 88 wins, which I will put an asterisk next to that, saying that still might not be enough. Need to go over the next 29 games, 23-6. That, for those of you wondering what the win percentage clip is, that's an 800. That's an 800 win percentage. Something that this team has not done all year long. I will say baseball is a hilarious game that is
Mhm.
incredibly difficult to predict. I will say shit like this has happened before. I, that's all the toxic positivity I got, I guess. I
Can we do it? The schedule ahead.
filled with playoff wannabe teams.
Well, we got the Red Sox for three more. We have the Twins ahead of us. The Twins are one of the teams we'd be trying to catch. They're in that third wild card spot.
Yes. Huge series this weekend. If the delusion of making
Need
the
a sweep
playoffs
there, right?
is still with you, yes.
So if we swept the Twins, that would take us from 8 games back of the Twins to 5 games back of the Twins. And we got Philly, Atlanta, New York, the Cardinals,
All playoff or playoff wannabe teams.
contender-ish. Well,
Yeah.
500, like the Cardinals are below 500. The Rangers are worse than us. We could take, I mean, for sure 2 out of 3 against the Rangers. A sweep, maybe. The Rays aren't the Rays of old. Then Boston again, and then the Marlins. Marlins is a bad team.
Mhm.
47-84.
I will
I
say
would,
this.
eesh.
I will say this. Last year, I banged the drum very hard that the Texas Rangers were shit. The Texas Rangers bullpen is not good enough to make the playoffs, I said. And then when they did, I said the Rangers bullpen is not good enough to get out of the division series. Then they did. Then I said the Rangers are washed. There's no way that they beat the Houston Astros, not with that garbage bullpen they have. Then they went on to the World Series, and we all know what happened here. So take that with a grain of salt with what I'm about to say next. This Blue Jays bullpen is garbage, and there's no way that they can go 23-6 on the back of Chad Green, and that's it. Like, listen, I'm not trying to be shitty towards guys like Eric Swanson. Listen, Genesis Cabrera has risen from the ashes over the last couple months and is looking pretty solid. So maybe we can throw him into the high leverage category. Can you survive on a bullpen of Tommy Nance and Ryan Burr? And no offense to Ryan Burr, he's been great in that starting role that we're starting to do like the Tampa Bay Rays like to do. I will also say that these starting pitchers pitched their ass off in 2023. All of them were, if not career years innings pitched, right on the verge of career years for innings pitched. And really, that hasn't backed off all that much this year. And there's already been talk of trying to give some separation there, give an extra day here and there, go with a bullpen game, get Ryan Yarborough out there after a opener to go 4 or 5 innings. I mean, they're kind of cobbling the last of this season together, and as exciting as this baseball has been, as fun as the last 6 games has been, whew, it just feels like a mountain too high, and to start getting your hopes up where there's still the same problems we've been dealing with all year, I don't know.
Well, okay. Just in the name of toxic positivity, I would say
This is quite an
st-
exercise, Amanda. I like this question, actually.
I would say sometimes, especially with young teams that don't know they're supposed to be bad, they play good.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's what we're in the middle of right now. I don't know. This is a real stretch to be this positive. I wouldn't put money on it,
No.
but
I mean, Fangraphs still has it has increased, but Fangraphs still has them at 0.8%.
maybe I would put money on it then. That's got to be good payout.
You
I
know,
don't
there's
know.
got to be good odds on that. Yeah, put a few bucks
Okay.
down, everybody.
So if I'm looking for reasons to be optimistic, if I'm looking for the dumb and dumber, so you're telling me we've got a chance, here it is. Our schedule kind of works in our favor. It's not the
We,
toughest schedule right now.
it's not, and we are playing some teams that they're chasing, I guess.
We're playing teams that okay, so here's the points. We're playing teams that we're chasing with the Twins. We got 3 games against that. You'd almost certainly need a sweep against the Twins. The rest of the schedule kind of soft. Philly's obviously hard. Atlanta hard. That's kind of it. Like the Red Sox are no slouch, but they're not. It's not the Dodgers. They're
And we
better
do need
than
to
us.
leapfrog. We do need to leapfrog the Red Sox, which
Yep.
we could
We
really
have
do ourselves a
6 more games
favor
against the Red Sox. So
if they continue to. I mean, if Freck, imagine if they take all 5 of these from the Red Sox, and
yeah,
I don't even care if the
yeah.
Jays are still in the playoff talk. You know, like teams keep winning and there's nothing this team can do. But oh man, putting a spike through the heart of the Boston Red Sox, love it. Yes, hook it to my veins.
Rest of the schedule soft though. Miami to end the year, bad. Rays below 500. Rangers below 500. Cardinals, Mets. Yeah, you'd really have to take care of business. You got to have some sweeps in there. Like taking 2 out of 3 against the Cardinals isn't going to get it done. Taking two out
That's
of
the
three
thing.
versus the Rangers isn't going to get it done. But
A
the,
666 win percentage, which is winning 2 out of 3, again, not enough. You need 800. You need to be winning 8 games out of 10 over the next 29 games. There's not a lot of breathing room.
not a lot of breathing room, but doable. You're telling me this team couldn't rattle off another 15 in a row? I don't know. Like maybe because you that it is a young team.
They don't know any better.
They don't
There's
know any
zero
better. The
pressure.
pressure's off, and other teams, I mean, you'd hope in professional sports they're not going to, but could take us
Yeah.
lightly. They could say, Jays are coming to town. They got their AAA guys up. Let's give our ace the extra day of rest. It's
And this
fine.
is where playing
And you
teams
catch
like
some guys.
Atlanta might actually be beneficial.
Yeah.
Although Atlanta's in the thick of a playoff race right now, which is kind of surprising, but they are the final wild card spot in the National League, and the Mets are nipping at their heels. So we'll see how that plays.
Yeah, like it is definitely a task. I'll say that. It is definitely a challenge to pull off.
There's a reason there's a 0.8% chance, according to Fangraphs, right? Like they are all but dead. But if there's any wrestling fans out there, we've all heard that one, the bell of the Undertaker, right? Can the
Yeah.
Blue Jays sit right up? I would
I
bet
will say,
against it.
look, I know you're pointing to the bullpen as being really bad. I feel like it's still too nice of a word. Um, but I did see I don't know who tweeted it out yesterday. Since August 11th, Blue Jays first in baseball
Mm-hmm.
in home runs, extra base hits,
Yep.
OPS, first in all those categories. I mean, 2.5 weeks,
The
but
kids
we're
have
hot.
something to
We
play
are
for.
hot.
That,
There's again, I'm stumbling over my words here because I am trying to be toxic positivity.
yes.
That's what she
Amanda
came
gave
for.
us a tall order here.
These, this is a tall order. This is where you go. Okay, maybe. I still don't like. I don't think it's likely,
No.
but that's the path to making the playoffs.
Before I
Is we are
invest,
hot right now. We are playing some teams that we got to leapfrog, and it's a pretty soft schedule. The
before I
softest part of
invest,
our schedule all year.
before I invest any emotional energy back into this team and let hope creep its ugly, hurtful head back into my life, I will say I need to watch them win 5 of the next 6. If they can go and beat Boston 2 more times here in this 5-game set and then go to Minnesota and sweep them, fuck. I'm an idiot. I'm right back in. Try and stop me. But I mean, this next 6 days, huge. If there's any actual chance, which there's not. All right. Anything else toxically positive to state here before we move on to the next question?
Just kind of on a
Starting pitching
fun
looks good.
note.
I will say that.
Starting pitching looks good. Even Bowden Francis
Mm-hmm.
is
Hot as they come right now.
as good as he can ever do. I will say on the tail end of that stretch, Boston, Twins, then we have the Phillies coming to town, one of the best teams in baseball. But as far as pitching matchups go, we're getting Christopher Sanchez, who's good, not great, and then Taiwan Walker, old Blue Jay, who has
Mm-hmm.
like a 7 ERA.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, who knows?
Who knows?
We're not getting the aces.
Enjoy it
Maybe it
while you
works
can,
out.
Amanda. I
Enjoy it
like
while you
the
can.
the passion, and you know what? If For those of you who are getting delusional, fuck yeah. I hope that I can join you in a few days. I gotta hold off though. Like I've seen too much baseball. Okay, going back to Twitter, Arshdeep says, and apologies if I completely butchered that, Arshdeep. I'm pronouncing it very white, I'm sure. He says, "Hey guys, hoping to get through to mailbag this week. I tried last week with no luck, but you always say to keep trying." See, he gets it. Arshdeep gets it.
Mm-hmm.
He says, "This team is sure a ton of fun to watch right now. Do you guys think the team will be mostly with us?" Sorry. Do you guys think the team will be mostly with us? Maybe a couple of big bats. Okay, so he worded this weird, but basically he's asking, do you guys think that this will be the team next year with maybe just a couple big bats added to the order next year? I don't know, Adam. I get the feeling that it's a very bad idea to fall in love with this team as is.
Um, you're not buying a Wagner jersey?
I mean, no, I. The truth is, man, I look at this lineup as is, and it's fun, it's young, it's exciting. The other shoe is going to drop. A lot of these guys have made their first adjustment at the plate and the league has not readjusted. We're talking about
Mm-hmm.
rookies. We're talking about dudes who are under, in a lot of cases, under 100 ABs in their entire career. To bet on this team as is would be foolish, in my opinion. And can I see a lot of these guys being moved? I actually can. Addison Barger's looking like a dude
Is he?
that other teams could see some value in. He's got some pop. I can see Will Wagner being a guy other teams have some interest in. Depends where they wish to go. I really like Leo Jimenez, but even Leo Jimenez is another guy where is he who you would like as your starting shortstop next year? I mean, in this scenario, obviously Bo is elsewhere, but I would be shocked if of all the young guys that we're all really enjoying right now, if more than, like I think Loperfido is probably going to get some run. And because he plays all three outfield positions so well, sticking him as the fourth outfielder and letting him develop and see where things go with him is probably the way to do it. Spencer Horwitz has probably shown enough that he's a guy who gets on base a lot, has a really good plate approach. When he slumps, he still gets on base, which is huge. Yeah, I don't know, man. What's your thoughts, Adam? How if you were to go through the list of young guys? So let me give you a list here, okay?
Okay.
Ernie Clement, Davis Schneider, Spencer Horwitz, Joey Loperfido, Will Wagner, Leo Jimenez. Of those six, how many do you think are on this 2025 starting roster? And past that prediction, how many would you like to see?
Um, two tops.
I kind of feel the same. And I really like these kids. And I do think that there is a possibility of a guy like Leo Jimenez maybe starting in Buffalo again next year, which would be very unfair to him. But the Blue Jays can't get away with stashing all of these prospects. It's not going to happen. They're going to either need to move some of them because there's a bunch of guys from A and AA that are moving up. You can't just stagnate the system by hiding guys in AAA. You might get away with one or two. So I wouldn't be surprised if half of those guys I just mentioned aren't Toronto Blue Jays come 2025. Which three? I really don't know. Your guess is as good as mine.
I would say Horwitz is my number one
Mm-hmm.
choice for a guy that could. I don't know. Clement, I go back and forth on.
I really like Ernie Clement. I just think that he is the perfect utility guy, and I don't wish to pencil him in every day
Yeah, like he feels
automatically.
like
Now, I will say this, Adam. If Ernie is kicking butt, do like they did this year and find a spot for him in there, right? Like that's the thing with those utility guys, the bench guys. If they force the manager's hand, play him, of course. Positional versatility. Ernie plays third. He plays short. He plays second. He plays left field. These are all spots where um, there's value, especially being able to play third and short as well as he can.
yeah, it's just hard to get excited about any of these guys. I'm sorry if we're gonna be a contender in 2025. Like it just
Drop your comments below. Would love to hear from you, grounds crew. Where are you at on the 6 names I just mentioned? Do you feel like there is a spot for these guys? And also keep in mind, it's really interesting. We're going to get to it in a second here because the next, you know what? We'll just get to it here. So I got a message from Jared last night on Twitter. He goes, guys, why in the hell is Stuart Burrow on this team? He literally can't hit. Stuart Burrow called up from AAA about 5 weeks ago from the Dominican Republic. Switch hitter, stole 30 bases in AAA and was hitting 300 when he got his call up. Stuart Burrow has a 153 batting average. I will say this. He has 33 plate appearances since his big league debut. He has 8 starts. He has been pretty much a permanent fixture on the bench. He is a prospect that doesn't have a lot of hype and pedigree behind him and has just worked his ass off to get to where he is in the system right now. He's a positive guy. Vladdy likes him. He just seems to be a very adequate guy to not play. Would he be playing better if they gave him more playing time? I don't know, but I would guess that probably it's pretty darn tough to be that guy that gets, 1 game a week, gets brought in as a defensive fill-in in the 7th. So I've heard a little bit of dislike towards Stuart Burrow. I don't really get it because the truth is that the guys that are pushing at AAA right now, Will Robertson, friend of the show, right? Jonathan Clase. He was who the Blue Jays got in that Jimmy Garcia trade with the Mariners, now the number 7 prospect on the Blue Jays. These are probably the 2 guys that deserve a call-up and would be the ones to replace Stuart Burrow. But these are guys that you want to give a little bit of run to. These are guys that you want a little bit more playing time. So if you're just going to let somebody rot on the bench, and it's not fair to Stewart at all, but Burrow is probably that guy because of the lack of pedigree, the lack of hype, the fact that he kind of came out of nowhere. And you know what? Having a switch hitter who can run his ass off on the bench, that's not a bad thing to have.
yeah. Yeah,
We're talking about
I
the
don't know.
26th man here. Is there other options for the 26th man? Probably. They're prospects I wouldn't mind having at bats, though. And that's no offense to Burrow. He's playing in the big leagues right now. It's amazing.
Man, okay, now that we're done with toxic positivity and reality settling in, if we're gonna contend in 2025, and this is how far away I think we are. Our 26th man next season should be David Schneider,
Yeah.
who's played the fourth most games on our team this year.
Mm-hmm. If if Davis is if Davis is the 26th man. And I love Davis. I mean, he's given us all the time in the world on the podcast. He's been on half a dozen times. He's come out to live shows. I fucking love Davis Schneider. But if
But
the
that's what
numbers
I
that
mean.
he's
Like
put,
this is
like
how
if the,
far away this roster is from being
yeah,
a contender, though. Like 113 games played this year, he has a 196 batting average. This team is in
needs some
trouble,
work.
man.
Yeah, it needs some work. That is putting it lightly. Going to Patreon. Mark Drabert. Of course, Patreon members for $4 a month, you get MLB Mondays. So 4 extra shows a month. You get instant access to all of our interviews. And then you also get the Patreon bump and mailbag, automatically getting your comments and questions in. Mark Drabert says, I agree with Adam that the stolen home run in the outfield is one of the most exciting plays in baseball. It does suck that the Jays didn't build a 6'7" fence around the entire outfield. So hear me out. What if they installed rock climbing holds in left and right field so the outfield could literally scale up the wall to grab the ball? It would also create super random bounces off the wall that could turn doubles into in the park home runs. When this first popped into my head, I wrote it off as ridiculous, but then the more I thought about it, I love it.
This is a $4 question. This is, you know what? If you pay $4 a month, we have to read your stupid questions on the air. This is great. Yeah,
Uh,
it's I don't know what else to say about it. I
Mark,
mean,
I love it. I think it's a
it's
really
great.
funny idea. Just,
That's awesome.
you know what would happen though is Dalton Varsho's running full speed into the wall might actually wind up like costing him a limb.
Yeah. Yeah, quite the injury for sure.
Yeah. Back to Patreon here. Mish Beer writes in. Now, this is in relation to yesterday's MLB Mondays, is what she's commenting on. We were having a discussion about the best way to fix the offense with this team. And what Adam and I kind of settled on was that moving Vladdy to third actually does make a lot of sense, even if you are taking a substantial step back defensively. And we kind of were framing it of like, you know what? We will take less at third base defensively, especially if, and in this scenario, we were imagining that the Bo rumors are true and he actually is being shopped and the plan is to move him in the offseason. We don't know. This is speculation. We were just guessing. So in that scenario, they go out and get a Willie Adames type shortstop who is defensively sound and can kind of shelter the hot corner a little bit. Very similar to Matt Chapman, what he was doing with Bo Bichette at third base. So Mish responded to that. People forget Vlad had a learning curve at first, yet Gold Glove. He's been killing it at third in this late season outings, and apparently there are more to come. I think that as much as this is a front office, managers, coaches to decide and assess, as well as for Vladdy to decide if he wants to make the move, and if he does, try for a third base Gold Glove. He's more nimble and has years of baseball IQ under his belt. Stop underestimating him. So to this, I will say, and I don't know how you feel, Adam. I don't feel like we are underestimating him. I think he can play third base. We've never seen Gold Glove defense out of him at the hot corner. So I don't know if We're just estimating him with what he has shown us. Now, we've seen Vladdy flirt with 50 home runs. I feel like it's still in there because I've seen it, even though I know there's a lot of you who will argue we'll never see that again. That's fine. Everyone's opinion is their own. I love Vladdy. We talked for 20 minutes yesterday about locking him up long term.
Yeah. Is he not good at third? Like, I don't
He's been fine.
like what's fueling the narrative that he's bad at third base? Is it
It's his first year in the majors where he played terrible third base, I think.
um, is it his glove though? Like he's not, or is it throwing errors, or is it bad range?
So the knock is his range is under the average range of a third baseman.
Okay.
But from everything I've read and seen, I mean, his footwork looks pretty good.
Hmm.
He doesn't look like an eyesore at third base. He does have a cannon of an arm. Like just looking around the league, and I know we watched the Boston Red Sox boot the ball around all day long yesterday and defensively definitely cost themselves a few runs. I wouldn't say that they cost themselves a game, but it was close. Rafael Devers is no stud third baseman, right? Like he's a
Yeah.
stud offensively, but he's not some world beating guy
Mm-hmm.
at the hot corner. So all Adams and my point yesterday when we were talking about it was that it is far easier to go out and get a thumper at first base than it is at third base. And it'll cost you less to get your home runs at first. And then it
Mm-hmm.
will also allow you to move Spencer Horwitz in and out, opening up second base, which we are already well aware the Toronto Blue Jays have a plethora of guys they're trying to slot into second. So it just, from an organizational standpoint and in an attempt to bolster their weaknesses, which has been offense all year long, and fuck, you could say for 2 years now, it just makes sense to try and do so at first base. You got Pete Alonso out there. You got lots of options, actually. I shouldn't say lots, but you've got options out there. So we'll see what happens. Grounds crew, feel free to please drop your comments. Where do you see Vladdy in 2025? And Adam, I know you've got something to say here.
Yeah, I just don't like the idea of moving Vladdy to third and getting your offense from first base replacement easier than a third base replacement. Like the free agent list of third base this year, it's like, well, Matt Chapman we've seen before, Alex Bregman, he hit 41 home runs in 2019, but I feel like the Astros were up to something that year.
And
Um,
2019, that was the juiced ball year.
that
I
was
have
the
a tough
juice
time
ball
believing
year,
any managers or any home run numbers that year.
right? So other than that, in 31, Bregman again. Sorry, Bregman hit 31 in 2018, which again, Astros are up to no good. Other than that, 12 in 2021. He missed a good chunk of the season, only 91 games. But still, it's only like a mid-20s pace. Full season the next year, 23 home runs. Full season the next year, 25 home runs. He's only at 21 this year. He'll finish in the mid-20s as well. Like, he's not a power bat at third base. If we were looking at, can we get 70 home runs out of our corner infielders in 2025?
Vlad's got to play third to do that.
Well, he's got to play third because, like, maybe you get 40 out of him, and maybe you get. Spencer Horwitz could get you 30. Like,
And this is where we're
I'm not
at,
saying
Adam.
Spencer. Hold on, before I get blown up in the comments too. I'm not saying he's like going to be a 30 home run hitter at first base either. But the chances of Horwitz hitting 30 from first is better, I think, than the chances of Ernie Clement hitting 30 from third base. So, and either way requires Vladdy to hit 40. So, but
Yeah,
yeah.
like I would put zero chance Horowitz hits 30. I love the kid, but I think you need to go outside of the organization and get a big thumper on the free agent market.
And then at first base, the free agents, like, yeah, you got, I mean, Pete Alonso is the big name. He's forever the home run derby champ that beat Vladdy in one of the best home run derbies of all time. Paul Goldschmidt is probably past his prime, and I don't know if he could, but I don't know. Anthony Rizzo, old. Josh Bell got some pop in his back. Like, there's options.
There's options. Anthony Santander, obviously not a first baseman, but there is a spot you could slot him in the outfield.
Yeah, I don't know. Give me the errors that come with Vladdy at third and whatever. I still think it's gonna be 2026 and 2025 are gonna be retooling, rebuilding years. So that's the right time for Vladdy to relearn how to play a new position or an old position, right? Like,
Yep.
Gold Glove at third base in 2027 and a playoff run. Like,
Let's see it.
it's
Going back to Patreon, Colin White wrote in. He says, "Good day, gentlemen. Please indulge my counterpoint regarding move Vlad to third talk. Vlad is one of the funniest people in baseball. For that reason alone, we should give him 300 plus million to stay with the Jays his whole career. However, Vlad's charm and humor is best utilized at first base. How often have you seen an opposing player get to first and Vlad starts pushing them off the bag and talking jovial trash talk? This is fun to watch. Vlad is also a gold glover at first. He constantly digs balls out of the dirt, jumps into the netting to chase fouls, does the splits. Moving Vlad to third would remove both the defensive and social entertainment Vlad provides. Furthermore, Ernie Clement has been great at third. He is in the top 10 defensive runs saved in Major League Baseball across all positions. I did not know that. That's impressive. My bold prediction, assuming equal playing time in 2025, Ernie Clement has an equal or better overall year than either Chapman or Bregman, including hitting over 20 home runs. In summary, keep the comedian Gold Glover at first and surround him with young guys who can play and like to have fun. At the very least, will be guaranteed to be entertained. Keep up the excellent work." So, thoughts? That was some interesting stuff on the Ernie Clement defensive run saved. I had no idea that he was quite that exceptional, right? Like that he was in that elite category defensively. He passes the eye test in every way, but I just didn't know the numbers.
Yeah, I'm still out on defensive metrics just as a premise. I think they're all broken in their own way. And I don't know. I defensive prowess is just tough to measure. And I think we
Overstated almost.
try and measure it, but we can't. Like, I don't know.
I'm not saying, by the way, that defense is overstated. All my point is that sometimes when it comes to the metrics, it's easy to be a little misguided on it.
I totally lose you.
You're back, buddy. We got you.
Okay. Sorry.
We'll go to YouTube. Pop
All
and
right.
Wheelies commented on the Friday show where we had guest co-host comedian Sean Lacomber join me. That was a really fun episode. We got a little long in the tooth. If you folks listen, anyone who listened to the full 90 minutes of that, just a big salute to you folks, because that is a lot. You know how everyone talks about micro content? Well, we macroed the shit out of Friday's show. So, Poppin' Wheelie says, don't really give much of a frig about Joey Votto. Period. And he ends it with that. Goes on to say, Ernie Clement, on the other hand, keeps looking better every game he plays. I would be fine with him as a starter at third base, shortstop, second. Guy is fairly reliable and is ready to put in the honest effort every game. Time to look 2 or 3 seasons out. Mission impossible to fill out the starters' holes, lineup holes, and the bullpen black hole in one off season. I'm okay with it and would rather be pleasantly surprised by overachievers than let down again and again with unrealistic expectations. Yeah, kind of agree with that. I don't know if I can see penciling Ernie in every single game, but we know how these utility roles work. You know, if he is kind of playing third, short, and second, I bet you he still plays 130 games next year. So he's almost an everyday player. Again, I am not slandering Earn Dog. I love Mr. Clement. He has been such a pleasant surprise this season and last season for that matter. And I think he has earned a spot on this roster. But it's kind of like Adam said, right? If this team is going to be a contender, which I don't, we'll see. Ernie needs to be that number 24, 25, 26 man on the roster.
Yeah, it's pretty much that simple. Like, we all had at one point or another fond feelings for Santiago Espinal. We fucking voted him into an all-star game for the enthusiasm we had for him.
Yeah.
I could see Ernie Clement being an all-star next year because, but
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say without coming across as a dick. It's Ernie Clement, great ball player, not.
Listen, Ernie Clement is a great ball player. Ernie Clement is 28 years old. He's at that age where most likely, taking the Jose Batista of it all out of it, most likely he is what he is, which is a above average defensive player who can move all over the diamond, who doesn't strike out, doesn't take walks, puts the ball in play. And yeah, there's a spot on a contending team for a guy like that. I just don't know
I
if
would
it's
say
every day at the hot corner.
Ernie Clement is one of the 800 best baseball players in the world right now.
Yeah. Super impressive.
It's fucking a lot of guys would love to be that good.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a fringe guy on a playoff aspirations team. And if that's what we want to be, then that's, yeah, I don't know. It's tough. It's
Browns crew,
tough.
feel free to drop your comments here if you want to push back on the Ernie Clement stuff. If you are looking to get your voice heard, feel free to drop that down now, and we'll try and get to it next mailbag here. Moving on, Scott Carter, he cracked me up here with his comment. He commented on the Sean LeComber Friday episode with, once again, Scott keeps Adam off the show. Scott, let Adam be free.
Come on, man. I just want to have
Bubble
fun.
Girl Knits says, and this isn't so. Sean and I were joking around about Bo's bad attitude, right? And we were saying, what if Bo doesn't have a bad attitude? What if Bo's attitude is the right attitude and everyone else is wrong? So Bubble Girl Knits goes, of course Bo's right. Would you want to work for Ross Atkins? I wouldn't. So the joke was, Bo, who has been getting shit all year long for not looking happy enough, maybe Bo's right. Although it's been pretty cool to watch this team have fun again, even though it's too little too late, you know? It's fun watching good baseball where the guys are excited to play.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know
I'm with you.
how.
I know. I'm the same way. I'm like, we laughed really hard too because it was like, what if Bo's right? And we're both like, huh. Like, yeah, what if Bo is right? Like,
Yeah, I don't think at this day and age that serious baseball is the winning recipe.
mm-hmm,
Like, I just think, and this might be true for all of professional sports and just like a generational thing, but like, with the bat flipping of it all and the
mm-hmm.
celebrating, like, this isn't your father's baseball game.
No,
This is so,
there's just
like,
no
we
way
tried for
20.
a blink to put together a serious baseball team and it didn't work.
It did not work at all. I mean, maybe we didn't have the right cast, but it did not work at all. And, to further your point, like, even just little things, look back 20 years. Can you imagine? Can you imagine 20 years ago after a win, the entire outfield of the Toronto Blue Jays getting together into a group hug and jumping up and down? Like, the game has changed.
No.
It's far more
Yeah,
fun. It's
like
far
it
more entertaining.
and it's all of baseball. It's all the biggest stars, like right from Juan Soto's fucking stupid waggle dance in the batter's box and all of it, right? Like every
Mhm.
team has a home run jacket equivalent, for all the time we spent shitting on that. And it was like, and for the first half of this year, we're the only team that didn't have one,
Yeah.
right? And yeah, I don't know. Like, where does Bo go to fit in then? If like maybe he's just the out of touch serious one. Like
I don't know.
I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know.
listen, I really do think that a lot of this has been blown out of proportion because Bo is a quiet, keep to himself guy. And sometimes if you're
Yeah,
not the extrovert in a clubhouse full of extroverts, people are like, what's the fucking problem with that guy? Why doesn't
yeah.
he have fun when
Hmm.
he's just a quieter, more keep to himself guy?
Yeah.
Anyways, we could talk Bo Bichette and speculate on that all day long. Instead, we will get to the final final couple comments here on YouTube. Mary T said, sounded to me like Basset wants to get traded. Said just enough to cause front office to be annoyed with him and confirm what Jays fans have been suspecting all season. Um, Mary, of course, is commenting on Chris Bassett's interview on the Chris
On
Rose
Chris
show
Rose.
where he brought up unfixable problems and then later kind of walked that back saying that it was just that he didn't have anti-aging ability. He was no
Hmm.
X-Man and that was the problem that he
Hmm.
was talking about couldn't be fixed, that he wasn't a superhero.
Hmm.
He talked about Vlad wanting to be long term and then he also said I don't know what's in Vlad's head, but it does seem like he likes Toronto. There was pushback to Mary. RC Cyber Warrior responded and responded respectfully. And one thing I will say to you, grounds crew members, I really do appreciate how civil, for the most part, you keep it in the comments section. It does not go unnoticed. And I appreciate everyone acting
Hmm.
like we are talking about baseball and not changing the fucking world. So appreciate all of you showing couth and respect to each other. So RC Cyber Warrior responded to Mary T with no. It sounded to me like he wants the Jays to be World Series contenders, and the front office has to make The moves to have such a team in place. In my view, the hysteria of the fans and media over the Jays' playoff loss in 2022 against the Mariners led to the bad decisions of blowing up the barrio and getting rid of key players like Teo and Gurriel, who were key to the offensive success. Also, having a rookie manager was a misstep that hampered the success of the Jays in the wild card rounds. So the only thing I will say about what RC Cyber Warrior says is that if he is correct, if it was the hysteria of the fans and the media that caused the front office to overcorrect so badly, that lies squarely on the front office. It makes me think of the scene in Moneyball, right? Where he's talking to Peter Brand, right? So Billy Bean's talking to, I want to say, what's his name now? Jonah Hill. He's talking to Jonah Hill, and Jonah Hill is talking about, you can't trade Carlos Pena. People are going to lose their mind. You're never going to be able to explain it. And he goes, you got to stop thinking like that. You don't owe an explanation to anybody. So, in that realm, if Mark Shapiro and Ross Atkins literally did make moves and change the direction of this entire franchise because of fans and media, I mean, I still think they should have been fired last year. I think they should be fired now. I double down on that if that's the case in 2022. If that overcorrect was based on trying to appeal to the fans and the media, fuck. We're screwed moving forward.
Yeah. I mean, hard to argue there wasn't an overcorrect. Going from the offense minded to the defense minded. Yeah, I don't know how to address this. I don't think John Schneider was at fault for that playoff loss,
No,
rookie manager or not.
a lot went on that game too. That was a
And his
weird one.
hands were tied, and they still
Yeah.
are, I think,
Yeah.
even to this day. I know they gave us the lip service last year that he's a zone independent, whatever, but I think that was just fucking Ross Atkins
Once
being
again, not
spineless
taking,
and
yeah.
zero accountability.
Yeah.
As far as Chris Bassett wanting to be traded, that makes sense to me. Like,
He is on
if
his
I
final
wasn't,
year of his contract.
man, if I
And
wasn't
he,
Canadian, I wouldn't want to fucking play for the Blue Jays right now either.
not at 36 years old, without any championships and only playing for teams like the Oakland Athletics and the New York Mets. So, you know what? I maybe Mary's right. Maybe there's a little bit of Chris Bassett that is kind of on the fence of like, listen, I want to win. If it's with the Blue Jays, great. Here's what we need: 3 to 4 superstars. Right out of Chris Bassett's mouth, which basically was him saying, I love Vladdy. We've got Vladdy. We've got one. We need 2 to 3 more of these.
He didn't say anything that was incorrect.
No.
Is the thing. The biggest issue I had, but I think the thing that stuck out to me the most, we're looking at, is this a fireable offense? Not a fire, but like, like, is this the thing? Like, he's trying to get traded. He's just trying to get
Poke the
called into
bear.
the
Yeah.
office, get called into the principal's office over. I think is when he said straight out, Vladdy should be playing third base for the rest of the season. And also that would mean more money for Vlad. Right? Like,
Yeah.
I
Also, again, truthful, right? Like that is
truthful.
that is the case.
Yep.
But definitely.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like, what? pointing that out? Like, if you're Ross Atkins and you see that interview, you got to be like, shut the fuck up, man.
Yeah.
Like, we're trying to get him for 295, not 375. So for me, that was one of the biggest parts of that
Yeah.
interview that stuck out to me. It was like, holy shit. Like, yeah, he's saying what we're all saying, except he's an
Mhm.
inside the room
Except he's
voice.
an insider. Yes,
You know,
exactly.
like, can you imagine a coaches only meeting where, or sorry, like a players only meeting where Bassett stands up and it's like, why isn't Vladdy playing third? Like, like,
Ernie's
and then
just like,
Vladdy's like, yeah,
shut
why aren't I playing
up,
third? I'd
man.
make way more money playing third. That's a great point, Chris. So yeah, I don't know.
There we
All right.
go. Well, let's end it on that. Thank you so much, everybody, for all the interaction. You guys are awesome. I love the grounds crew. I'm constantly getting messages on Twitter. You can message at Walk Off Podcast. Feel free to give us a follow. You can always reach out on Instagram, the Walk Off Podcast, which, by the way, our Instagram account has become more active recently, especially with me heading down to Buffalo over the summer. So there's lots of little interviews and stuff like that. I know I chatted with, he just made his major league debut, Luis De Los Santos, when I was down in Buffalo there with him. And we talked with Hagen Danner. That's up there. By the way, Haggy D, healthy. He's back on that Bison's team, and he's looking like a stud. Okay. This is a guy I think we're going to wind up seeing in the bullpen this season. And fingers crossed, he joins us on the podcast on Thursday. I know that we were talking with him over the weekend, and he said to reach out on Tuesday. So I did today, and we'll hopefully have him on Thursday. We are going to be talking with play-by-play announcer Pat from the Buffalo Bisons tomorrow. Not exactly sure when that interview will be out, but again, if you are a Patreon member, not only do you get that Patreon bump and your comments and questions and mailbag, but instant access to every interview we do. So you can listen to that Hagen Danner and the Buffalo play-by-play announcers podcast right out of the gate. Okay. All right, everybody. Thanks so much. Always appreciate your listenership. If you haven't hit subscribe or like on this yet, please do so. On that, we'll see you Friday.